Welcome to the Trader at Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew, a writer working in unscripted TV development, and this podcast is mainly dedicated to English-speaking versions of The Traitors, although we have covered The Traitors India too, and a couple of other strategy reality competition shows like Netflix's Million Dollar Secret and ITV's Genius Game. This season of the podcast is dedicated to The Traitors Canada Season 3. We will be looking at every episode, analysing the main events, the tactics, the gameplay, and maybe even telling a lie or two along the way. Normally at this point, I tell you that I am joined by a different co-host every episode. However, for this season of Traitors Canada, I'll be joined by the same co-host every episode going forward. You already know who it is. Let's meet them. David, we're going to do the whole season together. I don't really need to introduce you each time, but tell us a bit about who you are, just in case someone has joined us for episode 3.
Yes, yeah. I suspect most people know who I am. But for those who don't, like that one guy on YouTube, I've been covering reality TV for over 25 years, over 10 years on podcasts, online, in newspaper columns, on my own websites, and on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram as at David Bloomberg TV.
Although I'm saying, it'll be David and I every time, we may be joined by like an extra guest at a couple of points throughout this season. So we have a Traitors Canada contestant coming on, for example, another one or two familiar faces joining us perhaps. So that's a surprise to come, but you and I will always be here. We have a couple of listener comments to get to before I work my way through them, and then we're going to talk about episode 3. We're going to initiate our podcast game, The Trader Traitor. Inspired by Traitors viewers' claims that they could easily spot the traitors' lies and deceptions and that the faithful are fools, we are going to play our own game of secrecy and betrayal. The mission for David and I from here on in is to tell one sneaky lie to each other. The lie has to be a fabrication or a made-up fact, big or small, about the traitors or anything. For example, I could lie and say that in episode 3, I was able to spot Kitten this time because she wore a bright blue wig for the entire round table, which sadly she did not. However, I couldn't lie and say that I hate that franchise she's from, Drag Race, because I really like it and I watch it a lot. That would be a fake opinion. So we are not looking for fake thoughts and feelings. We're looking for outright lies, fake facts and false pieces of information. And listeners, you can put your skills to the test and see if anything lights up your radar. At the end of the episode, David and I will test our traitor hunting abilities and see if we can successfully catch and banish the other. I mean, not really banish, just sort of have smug faces.
Murder, not banish, murder.
Murder, yes. So, David, we've sort of been doing a lot of betraying. I don't know if we've caught one another yet. Are you ready to betray me again?
I definitely am, and it makes me suspicious that you're doing this before the emails and comments, because now I'm thinking right off the bat that you probably made up one of these emails out of whole cloth.
Could be. I mean, I've not officially started our game, but I'm going to officially start it now. Cue sound effect. So maybe it's in there. Maybe I'm just doing this to throw you off. Let's get to it. We have a comment from Cat Jean on Spotify. Cat Jean has commented before, a loyal listener. Who just let us know that we were talking about the differences between the extended version of the show and the abridged version. Cat Jean says, I don't find a big difference between extended version or not. The swearing isn't cut, and there are no commercials, is the only thing I noticed. And someone else commented, I think Mary on YouTube. Yes, Mary on YouTube also commented on the extended cut, not really having any big obvious differences. But Mary on YouTube also said, Pure and Simple is a breakfast restaurant, at least I know in the Toronto area, because I was saying the show seems to be sort of sponsored by Pure and Simple, lots of close-ups. I noticed it on their coffee cups, and they do have a very good menu. So there we go.
And the version of the show, the episode that I saw this time, for whatever reason, left a couple of ads in, and Pure and Simple was one of them. So, and I think that I got the long version, but it was only 48 minutes. So there must not have been as much to add this time, or else it was mislabeled from the website where I got it.
Okay.
Which initials are DM. But um, so yeah, I don't know if there just wasn't much, but like they said, I just don't think there's that much added. Because if
Yeah.
it was important, it would be in the main show.
Yeah. Yeah. So the version I watched was 43 minutes. So yeah, I don't doesn't seem like a big time difference.
5 whole minutes, and
Yeah.
part of that was the commercials. So
Yeah, exactly. We've had a bit of a YouTube chatter about something you mentioned last time, David. You talked about Kevin and his reference to AI, and we were sort of wondering what did that mean? It seems like
oh yes.
Zipker. Yes, Zipker. Sorry, I always say this wrong. Is it Zipker? Is it Zipker? Real name is Angus. Angus has sent in voice memos before. Zipker clarified and said, what Kevin said he used AI for was trying to determine what other celebrities or reality TV contestants would likely be on his Canada Season 3 cast, and apparently it was relatively accurate. So there we go, that's what Kevin was using AI for. Uh, and we've got a comment from Amanda on Instagram, who's filling us in a little bit on Cara from Real Housewives.
So before you do that, I
Oh,
don't know that you need AI to figure out who was going to be there. All you need is
the
the
internet.
grapevine. Yeah, and the internet. Yeah, these are not well kept secrets.
Yeah. And I don't know how
So,
much help it's really gonna be to
right,
your game anyway.
right.
I don't know. Amanda, yes, we chatted a bit about Cara and her Mama K nickname.
Hmm.
Amanda says, I finally got to catch up with Canadian Traitors and your recap and confirmed that Cara was absolutely not called Mama K on The Real Housewives of Toronto. Being from Toronto, this is the only Housewives series I've watched and remember it well. By the way, it was cancelled after one season because the Canadian women were too polite to have any serious fights or drama. It was very calm and polite. But Amanda adds, but Cara was the villain, and says, but seriously, Phaedra and the US housewives would have died on Toronto. The big conflict that split Cara from the other women was that they had a dinner party up in cottage country. Not Cara's cottage because she uninvited the other castmates and went skinny dipping, and as a Christian, she was very offended. This went on for like 6 episodes. There we go. That's the housewives drama we're missing from Toronto,
What a
and not
shame.
Mama K.
Well, and another player calls her Mama K this episode too.
Yes, yeah, I know. I noticed. So they've just invented this little nickname amongst
Yeah.
themselves, and I told Amanda I would still be calling you Mama D, and we got a lovely comment from Lena. Lena says, "Greetings from Sweden. We've got listeners all over the place. I'm a faithful from Sweden, and I found your podcast by chance when I watched Swedish Traitors and researched if the program was available in other countries. I love your podcast. Now I've watched all the UK and US seasons to be able to listen to you more. Yesterday I started Australian season 1. It's really special and love being able to follow it together with you and your friends." And Lena says, this is a compliment I've never had before. I think it's a compliment. My main reason for writing is to say that I just saw a picture of you on social media and have probably never seen a podcaster whose voice you know so well, looking exactly as they sound they will look. Fantastic. There you go. So
Okay.
thanks, Lena. I'm glad I look the way I sound. That's cool.
That's amazing. So she found the podcast probably through a recommendation of something she was interested in, and she enjoyed it. It's so weird how that can happen.
Yeah, and sometimes people get recommendations to watch videos on YouTube that they don't want,
Yeah.
but leave
Yeah.
unpleasant comments anyway. Who
Yeah.
would do such a thing?
Yeah.
Just making this up, of course.
Right. Right.
So we have a couple of listener questions a little bit later on, but first of all, we need to get into the episode. It's Traitors Canada Season 3, Episode 3. Here we go. We begin with a recap. We had some season opening twists. We had someone banished basically before they even got to really become a traitor. We had 2 explosive missions. We've had a faithful banishment. Curtis, I'm sure, will never tell anyone it's his birthday again. And a little shout out to
Yeah.
Curtis from us for being a good sport and listening to our podcast without hating on us. And the traitors last time finished the episode by choosing 4 murder candidates, which felt quite early in the season to us. This kind of thing doesn't usually happen till a little later. Breakfast begins then. We get our pure and simple close-ups, and Kevin is in the first group of players to arrive, and he's immediately annoyed at people for sitting where they can see the door instead of just having fun. Okay, Kevin. And now the players feel bad that Curtis was voted out on his birthday as they notice the red crosses painted across his picture and Ty's portrait. Rhea says something. I think Rhea was in this first group. Maybe more people arrived after this. I'm not sure.
Rhea was in the second group.
Second group. She comes in and sits down and she tells us, the audience, that she wants to, get to know everybody, socialize with everyone, talk to different groups. And my sort of immediate reaction was she maybe ought to be careful, because I find that in the Traitors this bothers players a lot. A lot of Traitors players don't like the player who wants to be everybody's friend, and you go from group to group. Why are you talking to everybody? So I don't know. Maybe that's of no consequence whatsoever.
They also don't like it and say, you never talk to me, so you must be a traitor, or you must think I'm a traitor, or whatever. So, you're never going to make a Traitors player happy. Let's face it.
Yeah, I guess maybe you can't win.
Now, one thing I do want to bring up, this is very important, from the first group coming in, was Shaughnessy's name.
Yes.
Or as other people, because I think Curtis called her, Curtis called her Shaughnessy.
Okay.
And even called her that, I think on, I may be wrong, but I think on Instagram he did something where he called her Shaughnessy. And then we have Kevin calling her Shaughnessy.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh, okay, we've been pronouncing it wrong. It's Shaughnessy, not Shaughnessy. And then at the end of the episode, someone calls her Shaughnessy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, can you people just get it together and figure out how to pronounce each other's names?
I didn't notice this. I just thought it was Shaughnessy, and that's the way I wanted to hear people saying it, so I didn't notice a difference. But I think that's right. I think that's the way
I would think so.
Most of them say it.
I don't know, if someone was repeatedly calling me David, I'd probably correct them,
Yeah.
So
I mean, people call me Matt sometimes. People take it upon themselves, and it really irks me. Like,
yes.
I'm not a Matt. I've never been a Matt. Don't call me Matt. I didn't tell you to call me that. So, yeah, sure. And funnily enough, there's later in the episodes, there's just a little moment about the pronunciation of a name that bothers another player.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, no, people do that to me all the time, too. Oh, Dave. No, that's not my name. And both of my sons' names, we never shortened. One of them is also Matthew. But people started calling him Matt in school. And so now you have, and he doesn't care nearly as much, as he's a lot more easygoing than we are, I guess. And so, like, his wife calls him Matt. His wife has never called him in their 8 or 9 years of being together, has never called him anything but Matt. Yeah. So, it's funny because you'll get the family, when there's gatherings, we're all calling him Matthew, and she's calling him Matt, and her family calls him Matt. And so it's a really big tangent, isn't it?
Yes, but very important.
At least none of them call him Matt, so it's not, or mate.
Yeah. It's not too wrong.
Yeah.
By the way, yes, this is the point in the episode very early on. I made sure I must look out for Kitten out of drag this time, because the entire episode 2, I didn't realize who Kitten was. So I spot her instantly. It's very easy this time because she arrives singing, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. So, I realized, oh, okay, Kitten's here. Kitten's arrived.
Yes.
Meredith is here and says she wants to put her beef with Lisette behind her. They had this argument over Meredith bringing up Lisette's name and Lisette being really annoyed about it. Sadly for Meredith, this beef will not be put behind her, I feel.
I don't think it's sad. We'll get to what I think later. But no, I mean, in the moment, it seems like they put it behind them. And And my note at the time, without getting to the end, was, "We'll see."
Yes. Yeah, it didn't last long.
No.
It's funny, Hollywood arrives, Hollywood Jade, to big applause, obviously very popular. And the Coco, when Coco arrives and sits down, and we're still waiting for the people who are on death row not to appear, she sort of deliberately forgets, oh, which four haven't
Yes.
arrived? And at that point, I realize, oh, the four people that they're naming those are the people on the murder list, completely not related to who we predicted or who was suggested at the end of the last episode.
I got one right.
Yeah, yeah, Thompson, I think. Yeah.
No, Natalie. I had
Oh, okay.
predicted Hollywood, Natalie, Lisette. I better pronounce it right. I don't want to get in trouble. And Kitten. And Natalie was the only one because why did I predict that? If you recall, because there was the scene of her saying, well, I don't even remember what the
Oh,
scene said, and I was like, why would they have a scene of Natalie whose name has not even
yes.
come up? Well, this is why. But by the way, Hollywood, that was something else. We had a debate about this last week where you kept calling him Jade and I was calling him Hollywood, but everyone calls him Hollywood. So
Yes, yes. I'll stick to Hollywood. That's right.
yeah.
Yes, I forgot. You did predictly correct, Natalie, based on your reading of clever editing. Well done. I do remember Thompson's name or picture sort of flashed
Mm-hmm.
up at the end. I had no idea who Thompson was at that point. Now I realize. Other than that, yeah, I also thought Hollywood would be in there, a couple
Yeah.
of others. And as you say, Lisette's name, I realize, yes, I'm pronouncing it wrongly as well. The great irony of me complaining about Matt and Matthew. I think it is Lisette. She corrects.
Yes. Well, at
Spoiler.
least you're not calling her
Meredith.
Lise. That would be the
Yes.
equivalent,
Yeah.
calling her Lise.
Exactly. I've,
Or
I've got
something
all the
like
right
that. But
syllables in there.
yeah, I do think to skip ahead to the end of the episode, when they get back, when the traders get back to the conclave, they basically admit there was no strategy to putting these four
Yes.
together. They just put four. So yeah, that kind of makes it hard to predict when they just randomly pick names out of a hat, essentially.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I first of all, I can't figure out how the players at breakfast suddenly figure out what is going on. Like,
They
it
said there
comes to a
wasn't
point,
it, there was a gong or something.
yeah, there's like a clock chime. So I
Yeah,
thought, oh, is that all it is? Is it just the
I
chime
think so.
signals
Yeah.
something? Yeah. Yeah, there's a close up of the clock. I thought that only happened at night when it was time to leave, but they
Hmm.
all sort of suddenly go, oh, the four people who aren't here must be on death row. And then we get our flashback to the traitors. They just decide to go for people who wouldn't be a loss, which is quite harsh.
Yes.
They want a quieter person after Ty's departure, and Coco even calls them all the borings. Uh, and I mean, Venus does say briefly, "Oh yeah, it'll cause lots of confusion." And I thought, will it? Like four quiet people? I don't know if it'll cause confusion. Is there not? Yeah, I thought, is there not some better strategy? Don't you want to play on the thing that ends up being played on by lots of the other players?
Hmm.
Pick some hot suspects. Pick the people who, or at least one or two people who have a big spotlight on them. You know, give people more reason to be suspicious of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just pick four quiet people, and I mean, I get the idea that you might want to murder a quiet person that isn't going to impact the game, but death row is a bit different. It's an opportunity to, yeah,
Right.
shed a light on someone,
Yeah.
throw them under the bus, give people a reason to talk about them. So if you pick four quiet people, I don't know if you're really emphasizing
I
that much.
I wonder if they figured that the faithful would be smarter than they were
Hmm.
and knew that the traders would not put any of themselves in this particular situation.
Yeah,
Which we'll get to more about that as we get to it. But I wonder if they thought, well, there's no way the faithful would think that a trader would put themselves here. So why do that? Why take away someone who is a potential target?
sure, exactly. And as I'm thinking it while watching this moment in the episode, we cut back to breakfast to hear people speculating on this very thing, that
Hmm.
one of the four must be a traitor. So I thought, okay, we're still in that era of the game. We've not quite moved past that. Rhea even has this conversation with Asfir, who
Yeah.
seems like is a big Traitors superfan, and he points out, well, at this moment in the episode, he points out
Yes.
the reality that a traitor doesn't always put themselves on death row. It's not necessarily a viable
Hmm.
sort of investigation route to go down. We also cut at breakfast. We cut to Sarah Nicole, who's just suddenly crying. Not she's just like, oh, it's so hard. I'm like, no one's gone yet. Like they're still in the game. It was just a bit ridiculous. Uh, is Sarah Nicole is she a real housewife? Is that her thing? Is she
No,
someone
she's a
else?
podcaster content creator.
Oh, okay. So, well, maybe she is just an emotional person. Okay, I'll
And the
have to
one who
find
I
out more about
always have to look up every time she comes on screen. I have to I'm like, who is that again?
I weirdly remember exactly who she is, only because this is so specific. In the mission last episode, when they were on the bridge and they were paired up and they had to sort of turn around and hold up a board, whoever Sarah Nicole was with, let's say it was Kitten, I don't think it was. And Karine is reading out the names. She goes, Sarah, Nicole, and Kitten. I thought there were three people. So I was like, wait, there's three people on one bridge? And then I thought, oh no, she has two
Yes.
names, Sarah Nicole.
Yes.
So that's helped her stick in my mind. So uh, after breakfast, then, oh, there's no, like, Karine doesn't come to breakfast and do her usual
No, that's the
chat. They
gong.
just sort of,
It's the gong, and then they're after breakfast. And next thing you know, Asfir is changing what he said to tell Venus there's always a traitor on death row.
right. And at this moment, I wrote this exact thing. I wrote, he
Yeah.
says to Venus, there's always a traitor. And then I wrote, not always. You just said this.
Yeah.
So I thought, is it just me? Did he just contradict himself? And I made a note of it, but I didn't think much of it. Little did I know this would
Right.
come back to haunt Asfir.
Yes.
So actually, it's quite important.
Yeah.
We also have some players wondering if Thompson could be a traitor, and Venus is quite happily getting involved in nudging that narrative on. Meredith and Chala have a little moment alone. Of course, they're married, they're keeping it a secret. They tell each other they're faithful, as you would,
Well, I know. That was the funny part to me because they actually asked each other. There's only one way they can answer.
Right, right.
Literally only one way.
Yeah.
So.
And Chala's response in particular made me laugh because they say, of course I'm a faithful. Like, really seriously. And I thought, why of course? Like, it just made me think, you're not a bad person if you're a traitor.
I mean,
like,
it's possible that we don't know the backstory. Like maybe they went in, both of them saying, or at least Chala saying, I'm going to tell Karine I don't want to be a traitor.
oh, yeah,
You know,
I guess could be
I
that.
don't remember if we saw any, those mini clips of either
Yeah.
of them ahead of time saying what they wanted. So
Yeah, could be that. There's a little moment here which again could have just been a throwaway. Maybe I didn't even need to mention it, but then I actually think it is relevant. Meredith says to Chala, "Oh, you were great at the round table. You spoke really well." So that it seems like a really positive thing at this moment, but other people later in the episode see it very differently and actually find Chala very rehearsed and too well spoken and too prepared, and so it's this interesting point.
do you remember what Chala's job is? Because I don't. I might be able to look it up quickly, but I
had
don't
it on
remember.
a list of all the players earlier, and I've closed it, so I don't have it in front of me. But no, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Are you wondering if it's something to do with sort of public speaking, or
Right,
just or
right.
being very
Yeah.
Yes, that might be that would make sense if it is something that involves being well spoken or having to sort of convince people or whatever. Okay, I'm cutting to me having checked that Chala is a benefits analyst. Cool.
Okay. Probably not someone known for, in general, obviously, Chala is good at it, but not someone you would immediately go to as a good speaker in this sort of
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Hey, there we go.
So,
Chala then it does have has a little moment in confessional talking about Meredith saying like making a joke like she's probably a traitor, And even though it was a joke, I thought, well, at least Chala's kind of open to that
Right.
possibility.
Right.
It could, could be. We very quickly are in the cars, we're heading off to the mission, and I noticed a few things here. We have Omer telling Meredith that her name is coming up again, although Omer himself doesn't believe that Meredith is a traitor, or says so. Meanwhile, Jamal is telling his car the exact opposite of what Meredith had told Chala. He thinks Chala's roundtable responses were very
Hmm.
politician-like, and here is where I remember that Jamal famously said, Chala wasn't the Chala I know
Oh, yes.
after 2
Which
days.
even the Traitors Canada account on Instagram made fun of. So that was very good. That they, the self-referential part of that, them understanding, just how ridiculous it was
Yeah,
for him to say that.
yeah, really funny. At the same time, Chala is in their car talking about maybe saying a bit less going forward. Chala realizes, okay, people don't seem to be responding well to the way that I spoke at the round table, so maybe I need to back off a bit.
Which
And
Meredith
that,
also said in her own car, almost the same thing. That
yeah,
she was going to step back. And I will say, Chala, who explained it more than Meredith, that the more you talk, the more likely it is someone will not like something you say.
yeah, yeah,
That's true. As
yeah.
a podcaster who does a number of podcasts, that is absolutely true, and posts videos and stuff like that. The more I talk, the more likely it is that someone will dislike it and let me know about it on social media. So
Yes,
yes, that's definitely true.
of course. And in this same car, which funnily enough, I think is Chala, Sarah Nicole, and then two traitors, Coco and Venus. They also agree that Jericho is their most trustworthy of the four death row players. That becomes a sort of running theme that, well, Jericho's obviously a faithful.
Right.
I don't really know why that is, other than that's just the vibe, that's just the way that Jericho is with everybody. I
Right.
don't know what specifically has led everybody to be completely trusting of Jericho, but that's just the sense that you get from most of the players.
Yeah.
It's time for the mission then, and we arrive at another quarry type location, similar ish to episode one. We've got what look like four concrete graves sitting on top of this big mound. Except they're not ordinary graves. They're deep wells. They stretch 16 feet underground. I thought that was quite cool. I was sort of
I
taken aback with the
It
reveal.
is, and I mean, we were making fun of their budget, that they couldn't afford robes and stuff like that. This is where all their money went to. I mean,
Yeah.
that much digging and concrete, especially at that location where they were, that
Yeah.
can't have been cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. I was pretty impressed by it. And I mean, and they exaggerate the depth with sort of, like almost fisheye lenses looking
Yeah.
down. But I thought it was cool. The players basically have to gather rungs, which are scattered around the landscape, to throw down to the player of their choice to help them build a ladder to climb out. And for each rung collected, they will bank $150. And yeah, the players, there are only enough rungs to get three players out, and it's up to them to decide basically who not to save. So we've seen similar kinds of missions like this in other versions of the show. Not this exact setup with
Right. Right.
graves and rungs and ladders, but
Yeah.
the idea that sometimes there is a mission where at the end of it, someone will be either eliminated or they won't win a shield, and it's
Hmm.
kind of based on popularity. And this is where I started to realize, wait a minute, what? And I'm sure you were kind of alluding to this earlier. I thought, what would have happened if the
Yes.
traitor had put themselves in this? Are they going to be killed off? And that's the conclusion that I've come to by the end of the ep. That
Yes.
this could have been a way for a traitor to leave the game in a way we've never seen before. Unless I'm
Yeah.
missing something.
No, I think you're right, because at the end, to skip, to jump ahead to that, at the end, they have the person who is eliminated say, "Are you a traitor or faithful?"
Yeah.
Which we've also never had happen before, because there's never been a reason to. If you're murdered, you're obviously a faithful.
Yeah.
And so this, I think, was kind of an IQ test for traitors.
Hmm.
Like, are you dumb enough to put yourself in this situation where you might actually be eliminated.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. That's the next step that I went to when
right.
I realized, yeah, I think they could be out. So therefore, the traitors must have known that's kind of how the mission was going to run, and therefore that's the obvious reason why they didn't put them. But we didn't see them discuss that as
Right.
part of
I
it.
mean, there was already good enough reasons not to include themselves
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that is an immediate suspicion normally. But they did say, I brought it up last week, was the way it was described was the outcome will be determined by the mission.
hmm
And I was like, if the outcome's brought it up, if the outcome is determined by the mission, that sounds like anyone could go.
yeah,
So, they didn't need to go into it because there were, like I said, there were already good reasons for the traders not to put themselves in. But this makes it extra, extra necessary that you not put yourself in. I mean, I can think of a few traders in history that would have put themselves in here, but not many.
yeah. And it also makes me think, well, if I was a faithful, I would surely surmise. I would bet money that a traitor is not one of these four people if this
Yeah,
could have led to them going home. So that would make me think. And I don't know if any of the players really say that very explicitly, but
they
I
do.
would sort of.
They we'll get to it, but yeah,
Okay, okay,
they do later. A
okay.
couple of them, but a number of them still suspect it too. And yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was talking about earlier. Was that no? You should, that the traders may have figured, and this is why they put the quote unquote boring people, that the people who have not been stirring up trouble as possible traders, we'll say it
yeah,
that way, that because that could actually clear someone
yeah,
if the other faithful are thinking straight.
yeah. That
Expecting
sort
the
of makes sense now.
faithful,
Yeah.
yeah, expecting the faithful to think straight, not always going to happen.
So they've essentially picked four people where they don't care if any of them end up going.
Right.
They sort of think none of these people are really going to affect our game plan
Yeah.
if they have a game plan going forward.
Right.
And I think the traitors may have three different game plans going forward, but we'll get to that. So the mission ensues. Korean is taunting the death row player. She's keeping count of the rungs being thrown. The trap players are screaming up for help. It's great. It's pretty cruel, but it's good fun for us to watch. Natalie takes an early lead. Mackenzie seems to be struggling to gain support. Venus has realised now, oh, Thompson actually is a suspect in various people's minds, so maybe actually she ought to make sure he survives.
Mm-hmm.
As the game continues, Jericho storms into the lead. Again, the other players in the car
Right.
earlier suggested he was really popular. People just assume he's a faithful. And he's the first one saved. Kit and Caboodle gives Natalie her 15th rung. It's between Thompson and Mackenzie. I can kind of guess what's going to happen. Mackenzie seems to be doing a lot more yelling than Thompson. Don't know if
Yeah.
Thompson is just quite
Yeah.
confident or embarrassed. Like, I'm not yelling, this is dumb. I don't know. And the game closes with $7,800 banked. Natalie and Jericho climb out. And there's something I noticed here that I don't totally know the answer to. So Natalie is suddenly in confessional holding up her shield and saying, "Yay,
Yeah.
got this." And then Jericho is talking, and there's a shield icon beside his
Mm-hmm.
what's that thing called?
Chiron.
Chiron. So does that just mean, is that just sort of symbolic? Like, I got saved in this mission, or
No, they said,
does
she
that?
said at the beginning, Kareen said at the beginning, anyone who gets out will get a shield.
So that carries forward to next time
Yeah.
as well. So it's
Right.
kind of like a
Well, it's like any other
double,
mission.
double saved almost, like saved this time and
Yeah.
saved next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I missed Kareen saying that, so I was a little confused.
Or did
Jericho. This is okay. Something could be going on here. Jericho says in confessional, "These traitors are scared. I have a lot of people. I have a lot of people behind me." And I thought, I don't think the traitors are scared of that. I think Jericho's I
And
thought
if they are, that's not what you want, because
yeah,
then next
they
time
might
you're
just murder you.
available, yeah, they're like, oh, he has a
Yeah,
lot of people behind him. Bye, clink. You know,
yeah, I thought it was a funny thing to say.
yeah.
Anyway, then Thompson climbs out, does a backflip. Cool, okay. And means poor Mackenzie, R.I.P. And Karine throws her a black rose and makes her reveal her identity. And of course, she reveals that she's a faithful. So yes, this is the moment I thought for sure. Oh, okay, a
Yeah.
traitor really could have gone right. Um, and then I was like, okay, so there's no way a traitor would have surely put themselves in this and taken that chance. And don't the other players realize this?
Apparently
That
not, because right away in the cars on the way back, Hollywood's like, well, Jericho or Natalie aren't traitors, so it must be Thompson.
yes,
And it like you're working on this second level logic, you know? People have moved on to the third. Plus, even without the risk to the traitors, he's still working one level behind. But really, you think Thompson would have risked his game life there and then stood there and not been screaming to be rescued?
yeah.
I
Yeah. What's so funny about Hollywood saying that, what's so ironic about it, is that in the previous episode, Hollywood was just complaining at the round table, going, well, it's season two all over again.
right.
And I thought, that's so ironic because you are now preparing yourself to banish someone by following previous season logic. Like,
Yeah.
well, every time there's death row, one of them's a traitor. So I really just laughed at that. I was like, wake up. We are back at the house, and I don't know whether to call it a house or a castle. Is it a castle here?
I think
Is it a
mansion.
house?
Mansion is what
Mansion.
I
The mansion.
mansion.
Okay.
Um but there was also one other thing. Sarah
Oh,
Nicole says Thompson lied about how many rungs he had in order to get her to drop her some. Or at least that seems to be the gist of the
okay.
conversation.
Okay.
Uh it
I
it,
missed
I,
this.
it never comes up again. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that was all about. So
Yeah. I wonder if. Did you see Sarah Nicole says this?
yes.
I wonder if, I don't know, Sarah Nicole, other players are just sort of like, sure, Sarah Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thompson lied. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, back at the mansion then, we've got Hollywood in confessional mentioning the fact that, yeah, they didn't get a traitor out in in the mission. So that it just sort of further confirms, yes, so a traitor really could have gone out. Which would be in the versions of the show that I've watched, a
Hmm.
first. I've never seen a mission like this.
Right.
Anyway, uh, in the mansion, we've got Rhea and Meredith having a chat.
So
It's just this.
this is funny because uh, it remains to be seen if Rhea has a good tradar.
Yeah.
But her gaydar is definitely on, and it pings Meredith, who of course is lying about having a husband. So there's at
Yes,
least some overlap there, maybe.
there is, but it just this moment made me laugh when because Meredith mentions like, that she plays rugby or played rugby,
Yeah,
and Rhea just goes, "Are you gay?"
yeah, I
Like,
know. It was so straightforward. Yeah,
ironically, and I thought I just sort of thought, geez, Rhea, like maybe you don't ask people that. Like, you could be a bit more subtle. Maybe just like see how the conversation goes. Maybe Meredith will tell you what she wants to tell you, but just, are you gay? Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you should ask people that. And yes, Meredith sort of panics and says, well, I'm pansexual and have a husband. Seems like she gets away with it. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, so
I think Rhea should have grilled her from that point. Are you really?
yeah. What's his name? Date of birth? When did you get married? So we've got Kevin chatting to Omar and asking him, this also didn't really come to anything yet. Maybe it will next episode. I thought this was the start of something that was going to play out at Roundtable.
Well, it drove me crazy, even if it didn't do anything else. But go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin says, well, I want you to, at the round table, I want you to say that you're a Traitor super fan.
No, no, no. A Big
Oh,
Brother
Big Brother
celebrity.
super fan. Sorry, yeah, yeah. And I want you to tell everybody that you know Coco is a two-time finalist from Big Brother, because then, that'll make everyone suddenly go, oh,
Hmm.
Coco, you've not told us this. You're hiding things from us. So Kevin's plan is he wants Coco out. And I just thought, what? First of all, won't that make Omar incredibly suspicious of you? Isn't Omar going to be like, why are you telling me to do that? And
Right.
also, how do you know that? And why haven't you told anyone that? Like, it was just
Well, he
all these.
has said it, and I took it as valid without actually checking it. Last time we talked about it.
Yeah,
Now, maybe it is true. Maybe Kevin knows this and it's true. Maybe he's making it up and just is relying on nobody there having watched Big Brother Celebrity, the French version. Uh,
yeah.
so it would be funny if he's making it up, but I have no idea. I didn't
I
look it
mean,
up. Um,
yeah, I haven't either. I also have just assumed it's true because that would be so
mhm.
wild to make up for Coco just to immediately say, I haven't
Yeah.
been on Big Brother. What the hell are you talking about?
Well, we know she was on Big Brother Celebrity because that
Yeah.
comes up in her Chiron. But uh, it, the whole two-time finalist thing, I don't know that. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, he also is telling Omer so because he wants to recruit Omer. He tells
Yeah,
us he
yeah,
wants, to recruit Omer. But yeah, exactly what you just said happens. Omer's like, well, he says this almost casually. Like Kevin could be my traitor angel.
yeah,
And I'm like, wait, stop it. Hold on a second here. Because in episode 1, he was sure Kevin was a traitor. And then in episode 2, he was convinced he wasn't. And now he's back to thinking he is without any explanation that we get.
yeah,
And I mean, maybe the explanation is what we just saw. Maybe this type of scheming that Kevin is doing is pinging on Omer's Traitors. But
yeah.
it would be nice to have someone say that.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I just assumed that's what it was. I assumed it was kind of this conversation, and maybe there have been another couple of little conversations
Mm-hmm.
like this that have made Omar go, yeah, Kevin keeps pushing me to do things and tell lies. Clearly he's traitor. And I wonder if maybe Kevin knows that it's obvious but doesn't care
Right.
because he's like, well, I want to recruit and if Omar figures that out, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh so maybe it is just a sort of unspoken
Yeah.
I trust him to not banish me because he knows that I want to team up with him. It's very strange. But again, it feels like it doesn't like Omar doesn't do anything about it. Like I don't think he does bring it up at the round table unless they cut that
No,
out, and that'd be really
because
weird if they cut that out.
he wants to be he wants to play the Trader's Angel strategy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I mean, he said that in episode 1 that he didn't use the terminology, but he said that in
yeah,
episode 1 he wanted to do that, but then episode 2 he was convinced Kevin wasn't a traitor. Well,
yeah.
now he's back to it. So,
And I wonder if therefore, if he's now sussed that Kevin's probably a traitor and he wants to stick with him, does he also realize that Coco too is probably a traitor if Kevin is trying to so obviously get rid of her? Like, I wonder
oh,
if he makes that connection as well. It's like, oh, I see what's
hmm,
happening. You want to get her out because she's a traitor. Okay, now I know you're both traitors. I'll just keep that to myself. I don't know.
yeah.
Uh, we see Venus and Kevin chatting in the kitchen. Obviously, they're traitors, they're conspiring. And Venus mentions Thompson. Apparently, Thompson has been throwing her name around. And Kevin, whose ego is now, well, now, I'm saying now, probably always very inflated, just goes, okay, you want him out? I'll get him out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, how are you going to get him out on your own? It's very Donald Trump. It's very like,
Ouch.
I can do whatever. Maybe that was harsh, but I just laughed. Like he's like, yeah, you want him out? I'll get him out. Like, I don't think it's that easy, Kevin. I mean, you could murder him, I guess. You could decide to do that. I don't think you can get him banished
Yeah.
single-handedly.
Oh, he
So,
can.
well, okay, sure. Sorry, Kevin. Uh, what I get a sense of in this scene is that Venus and Kevin are are basically, unless I'm completely wrong, they're teaming up against Coco,
Yes.
right? Like they've kind
Well,
of decided.
Kevin has decided that they are teaming up against Coco. But then
Yeah.
there's another scene where, Venus, at this point, Venus wants to wait a few more votes. She
Mm,
tells Kevin
yeah.
that and suggests, well, you said she suggests Thompson, but then she tells Coco she wants Thompson out because he's getting close to Kevin. So she gives a completely different reason.
Yeah.
And she makes some comment about how she's in the middle here and is just going to work with both of them or something like that. I didn't write
Mm,
down exactly what she said.
yeah. And I mean, Coco is completely in the dark and oblivious
Right.
and thinks
Right.
that she can trust both of her traitors.
Yes.
I'm still not completely sure why Kevin is so obsessed with getting Coco out, other than that he's still mad at her for the episode one choice of Venus over Ty, which again, he was part of. Like, she didn't hold a gun to his head, so I don't know why he's so bothered
That
by
was
her.
that was in the extra long version, which
Ah, it all becomes clear.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, so
um
I don't know why I don't know what the Coca Vendetta is, other than he thinks it's a great traitor move to get out another fellow traitor because it makes you look like a faithful, and he just prefers Venus to Coco. I don't know.
I think he prefers Venus and he prefers Omer. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so he just wants her out
Yeah.
and his buddy in. Okay. Uh, and the only other thing I really made a note of before Roundtable is that Thompson knows he has some heat on him. From the edit, I thought Thompson was in a lot of trouble. He was going to get all these votes. Thompson kind of doesn't really get much heat at all, actually,
No.
at Roundtable. Like that just dissipates and it swings away to, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Uh, so at the Roundtable, oh, I didn't bring it with me. This could be my lie. I'm almost certain they're using the same glass goblets as they have in UK Traitors. They look incredibly similar. I have had it on the pod before. I have these exact goblets. I don't have them with me right now. They are in this house. I'll bring them on the next pod, I promise. My plan was to have it with me and hold it up, but you'll just have to trust me. Next time. So anyway, going in, the theme of this round table, based on all the confessional clips, seems to be let's go for the quiet ones, who's not speaking up, this sort of thing, which Venus is very aware of and therefore wants to make sure that she does speak up this time.
Yeah, and even Kareen is pushing
Yeah,
the same thing. Like, don't sit there and be quiet.
yeah. It's funny, I thought Karine, obviously she wants to taunt them and make it exciting and dramatic, but she says, last time you only focused on one name and chewed it until there was nothing but bone left, and half of you said nothing, which I thought was a bit of an exaggeration. There wasn't. I know Curtis got most of the votes, but he wasn't the only person they talked about. So
No, but
they
I
did
mean, there
talk
was
about a couple of
obviously a
others.
pile on, and she's playing the role that I so frequently talk about with other hosts, which is she is playing the production role of
Yeah.
let's make things interesting here. We don't want it to be, just we don't want to have to edit creatively around to make it look
Yes.
like something when there wasn't.
Right, right. We want you to say as much as possible,
Right.
and we want you to get a traitor. Of
Hmm.
course, that's what we want you to do, even though that may not be the wise thing to do. And there's something I noticed here was, interestingly, Karine explicitly references a previous season and says she remembered when players banished a traitor at Round Table 2. This is a little bit of a spoiler. Skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. It was it was a friend of the pod, Melissa B. Melissa B was
Yes.
banished. Second round table, season one of Traitors Canada. I had to go back and check that, but there we go. I just thought that was funny that the host specifically mentions something that happened in a previous season. It doesn't happen a lot on the Traitors. Jericho begins the discussion in a way that confused me. Jericho says it's going to start with the obvious thing that I assumed someone was going to talk about, and says let's talk about death row, but then immediately starts talking about something else. that isn't Death Row, and says, something happened after the round table last night. And Jericho says he mentioned Chala's name to a group of people, although I don't think that's the important part. Don't know why he's telling us that. Basically, he suspects Chala because
Right.
Chala changed their vote to Curtis yesterday, despite apparently being very close with Curtis. So Jericho asks Chala here, do you really believe Curtis was a traitor, or were you just voting with the group? And Chala briefly defends themselves, saying, well, I heard the conversations at the round table. I listened to the only evidence I had, and I realised that someone was lying to me, so that's the decision I took. Rhea speaks up and has three names that she's been hearing. Number one, Chala. Again, it's this closeness that they apparently had with Curtis, followed by the switch to then vote Curtis out.
I think
And,
you accidentally skipped something here. I was trying to
oh,
follow this in my notes. Sorry,
okay, yeah.
because Lisette brings up Thompson, and I know you mentioned.
Oh, maybe this is an extra that wasn't in my episode, or maybe I
Oh,
just didn't take
okay.
a note.
Okay. Because, yeah, the first note I have about the round table is, am I saying it right? Lisette?
Yes.
Okay. Lisette brings up Thompson saying Venus's name. And he says he just wanted to talk to her.
Hmm.
And my immediate thought is, no way. Lisette couldn't possibly have misinterpreted something that someone else said. That's no.
Not at
Uh,
all, no.
And then Venus doesn't push on it, despite the fact that we heard her the whole episode talking about wanting to go after Thompson. She's just like, okay. And then we move to
I,
Jericho.
I, yeah, I think that wasn't in the
Okay.
abridged version of the episode. Again, unless I missed it, that
I
could have
mean,
happened.
it's,
Sometimes I
it,
miss things, but that's a lot to miss. So,
it, on the one hand, it makes sense that it might have been cut out because it comes to nothing. But
hmm,
on the other hand, we hear Thompson, Thompson, Thompson. And then when someone brings up Thompson's name, it gets blown off.
yeah.
So I feel like it should have been in the regular episode.
Okay, interesting. It could well be me just not noticing something. And actually, I have a note on something connected to that later, actually. Uh, yeah, the next part I had was about Rhea. Rhea's got three names that she's been hearing: Chala,
Mm-hmm.
Asfear, but doesn't really talk about why Asfear.
Mm-hmm.
And then moves to Thompson, just saying that one of the four people on death row is probably a traitor. No, Rhea, no, that makes no sense. Coco steps in, followed by Venus, to hone in on Asfear then, and how he seemingly contradicted himself. And I thought, oh, that thing that I noticed earlier is coming
Right.
back to haunt Asfear. Although I couldn't completely follow exactly what they were saying. I think they were referring to something different, Asfear had said. Still connected to
Right. It turns out that
people
he did
in.
it. He switched back and forth more than once.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Because it's. I thought it was the same thing also, but then as his discussion goes on, and first Venus questions him, and it comes out that he's watched every episode of every season,
Yeah,
and he quoted some statistic that Omer
yeah,
corrected
yeah.
him about. And here's the thing: we have watched every episode of every season, and we get stuff wrong. Uh, and we're not in a high pressure situation like he is.
Yeah,
So, I mean, there are different levels of superfan. There are the superfans who remember every single bit of trivia.
yeah,
And then there's people like us who are super fans and understand it and have watched it and analyze it. But no, I'm not going to remember who, the third person to vote was in the second episode of the
yeah,
first season of that country.
yeah,
Uh, so, but yes, so then Omer questions him about his contradicting statements, and he says he started thinking Thompson was a traitor and then changed his mind, which doesn't actually get back to what we were talking about, which was his starting point saying there probably wasn't a traitor in there.
yeah,
So he actually flipped a couple of times.
yeah. and I have the exact same note
Yeah.
as you. That when Asfear says, "Yeah, I've watched them all, but I mixed them up," and is basically saying, "Look, it was an honest mistake,"
Hmm.
and I thought, "Yes, Asfear, I feel you. If I
Yeah.
if I was at that round table, I'd be like, I believe him. Yeah, I do. Yes, exact same. I obviously have all these extensive notes of these episodes, and we talk about them for hours on this podcast. After a season is done, it all just blends together in my head. I can't remember it all. And sometimes listeners have much better memories than I do send messages saying, "Oh, hey Matthew, you totally forgot this already happened in another season," or "Matthew, how did you forget this?" And I just have to be like, "Yep, sorry, these things escape me. I
Right.
can't." So, which is why we have such wonderful listeners to keep us right. Which reminds me, this might be a good point to mention. I didn't make a note of it here, but it is in my mind. I do remember this for sure. This is also maybe a little bit of a spoiler about last season. So, season two of Traitors Canada. If you've not seen season two of Traitors Canada, again, maybe like skip ahead 30 seconds. I'm going to spoil something. I forgot that in last season there were no recruitments. It
Hmm.
was it was a set of traitors who were never replaced. They had the option to recruit but didn't take it.
Right.
So we only ever had three traitors the whole season, and one listener, at least one listener, sent me a message, and I'm sorry, listener, I didn't write your name down. I can't remember who it was. Someone suggested to me, "Oh, Matthew, maybe that's why this time they have introduced the $10,000 get a traitor bonus. Maybe it is a result of last time." Not enough
Yeah.
traitor banishments and recruitments. So, I mean, it didn't bother me. I don't really care about that, but I understand maybe from a channel point of view or a production point of view that they're like, we don't want another season like that. We want more
Right.
recruitments and stuff. Let's really give them a reason to push it. So I'd kind of forgotten that about last season.
Yeah.
So yes, we have all the stuff with Asphere. Kevin steps in, and obviously we know Kevin's a traitor, and says really quickly, he says, "I think there are four traitors." So that's his sort of fake line he's going with. And he says something I can't actually follow about how he doesn't think the traitors are running around. And I don't know what he said. I
So I
wonder if
think
he
what he's
said,
saying, what I believe, because I played this part twice for the same reason. I believe what he was saying is he doesn't think any trader would put themselves at risk to
right,
go
yeah,
into the coffin because they're all four of them working in lockstep enough to get enough rungs to save that person.
sure,
And you know, and so this, I think, is his way of trying to get the faithful back to what they were originally, what the traders were originally thinking in
yeah,
nominating these people, which is none of those four, well, three remaining are traders. So don't
right.
worry about them.
I assume that's probably what he meant. I just couldn't quite make it out. But yeah, that makes sense. And Jericho seems to back that up, saying it's unlikely that a traitor might have almost got
Hmm.
themselves murdered. So I'm glad at least one other person is realizing this makes
Yeah.
sense. Asfear speaks again and says that he wanted to be a traitor and thought he would be a traitor, and that he says like I just wasn't prepared to be a faithful. He's kind of saying I'm just recalibrating. That's why I'm getting mixed up. I thought I was going to be playing a different game. Okay, and Chala then names three people next: Lisette, Shaughnessy, and Asfear, and works their way through each one.
So
Kind
I have to
of.
ask you this. Maybe it was in the maybe it was in the extended version too, because in what I saw, Omer goes back to Asphir and asks why he was so vocal about Curtis before Roundtable, but then didn't say anything in Roundtable. Did you not see that, or
Uh,
he says he
What was
felt
Asfear's response?
he said he felt everything had been said, and he is generally a kind person and didn't want to add to the barrage, basically,
I
not
may have
using those
seen
exact
that
words.
and didn't make a note of it
Okay.
because,
Okay.
yeah, it
Yeah.
may have been in my version. So Chala is naming their three main suspects: Lisette, Shaughnessy, Asfear. Lisette because Lisette's highly reactive and defensive, sort
What?
of
No, I'm
referring to
not.
merit.
How could you say such a thing? How could you
Exactly.
say I'm defensive? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever said. You've ever
Yeah,
said.
Meredith sort of comes in to support that, and yeah, Lisette's just like, what? Like, and sort of rolling her eyes, and it's not a great look, maybe.
I mean, it is very funny though.
Chala's second name was Shaughnessy and questions the way that Shaughnessy sacrificed herself in the first mission. Should they be rethinking that? And I was about to take notes on Asphere, but oh wait, we don't really get Chala's explanation of why Asphere is on their list because Karine closed the discussion at this point. In the
Okay,
edit,
so
anyway.
yeah, and then I have to go back because I realized as you're going, and maybe this is something else that you know just skipped over, and I'm adding to it here. But um, when Asphere was asked, well, who do you think? What name would you give? He said Chala and said that
Okay.
Chala is being performative and overdoing it to show they're a faithful.
Okay.
And Chala points out that everyone says I'm a faithful a lot, and he just doesn't notice it. And that can be true because it is absolutely classic confirmation bias. If you already suspect someone, then everything they do, you're going to think, oh, that looks more traitors. Why are they not saying they're faithful? Why are they saying it so often? No matter what it is. So I don't know if that wasn't in your version or
I
it just
don't
didn't
remember
really matter.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, Part of the issue as well is I got up, obviously I'm in the UK, and I got up early this morning to watch. I knew I would try and watch like half of the episode and then half on my lunch break at work. But when I got up, actually, I hadn't really left enough time, so my usual source wasn't available at that point. So I had to I have a VPN and had to use that and access it on sort of Canadian TV. So I watched half of it that way. I then watched the other half at work, and I can't use a VPN at work. So I maybe was kind of actually watching two different versions. And maybe that's partly why there's things missing or mixed up. And also, I was stressing about not getting to watch it in time. Also, maybe I just am really unobservant sometimes and miss things. Could be
Yeah,
like
I had to.
Asphere. Me and Asphere were like that.
Yeah, yeah. I had to watch it after spending the morning getting my knee drained. So that was
Oh,
fun. I was like, okay, let's speed this up here. I've got an episode of TV to watch here.
that sounds lovely.
Oh yes, lots of fun.
It's time for the votes then. So here we go. A couple of the things that the players say as they're voting I thought were interesting here. Thompson begins, and yes, this is where I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I thought there was going to be much more time spent
Hmm.
discussing Thompson, and it really just went towards Asphir and Chala at this table. And Thompson votes for Asphir. Coco's next, and this is then I thought, hey, where was Kevin like coming for Coco? Has he just decided to save that for another time now?
I think because Venus said, no, let's wait a couple. That was
Yeah,
all we
yeah.
got. And I think that's all it took, which by the way, you mentioned, and I went back in time, but now to go back in time to when we were going back in time, you mentioned that Karine cut them off. I thought it was funny, but there was still conversation going. She was like, everybody should talk. And then while there is still conversation going, she cuts them off. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, I can never quite figure out how much of that is edited to look that
right.
way. Like maybe
Yeah.
it did come to a natural end and they just trick us, or
Right.
is it to create a bit more tension that they've got more to say than they
Right.
can, and does that sort of like make the players seize up a bit, and does it add to their frustration, which in turn makes it feel more exciting? I don't know. I can't tell. Maybe it's a bit of both. So Coco votes for Asphere, and even though it's only two votes, I thought, I think I see where this vote is
Yeah.
going. Ria votes for Lisette, Cara, and at this point I thought, who is Cara? Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
she's the Hollywood. Okay, she's the
I
sort of real
actually thought
housewife.
I actually thought she had been banished or murdered, and I had forgotten about it. And then she pops up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, she's still here.
Yeah. Funnily enough, she plays so much more of a part after the round table for a
Yeah,
few minutes than at any other point in
right.
this episode, I think. Cara votes for Hollywood, which seems a bit, out of nowhere and a bit odd. And I
Hmm.
think even Hollywood's like, okay. And says something like, this makes a sort of sassy comment, I can't remember what it is. Venus votes for Asphere, Lisette votes for Chala, Meredith votes for Lisette. and says that she's a bit two-faced. And this is, well, she calls her Lisette, and
Hmm.
Lisette corrects her pronunciation. And I
Yes.
thought, oh, I've also been pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, me too.
Lisette, please don't come
Yes.
for me on social media. And Chala's next votes for Asfir. Asfir, in return, votes for Chala. And then Omar says something that really cracks me up. Omar says, because Asfir has just voted for Chala, says, well, naming someone who's already in the hot seat is just a classic easy move for that a traitor could do. And then votes for the person who's already in the hot seat.
Yeah.
It was just like very hypocritical, and I really chuckled. Thought, Omar, you're just doing exactly what you're accusing Asfir of doing. Uh, Shaughnessy's next. And when Shaughnessy votes for Asfir and says something about Asfir being extremely smart. And it's when she says this that I thought, is she Irish? Like her pronunciation of the words, she says extremely how do she says smart, and I was like, is she? Am I watching Traitors Ireland again?
I mean,
And then I
isn't
realized,
Shaughnessy an Irish name?
absolutely, yeah. So I was like,
Yeah.
is she Irish? As it goes on, I realize, oh no, she's not Irish. I think she's just from this part of Canada where actually some people there do have this strange half Irish lilt to their
Mm.
accent that really blows my mind. I don't. There's a musical called Come From Away, and which I saw a couple of years ago, and it's set on this little island. Do you know the musical or the story behind it?
No. So you
It's
could
all
just make
about,
up anything
okay,
you
I
wanted.
I could be lying. In Come From Away, it's based on a true story of, it's all about 9/11 and how um, on 9/11, often lots of planes that were in the air had to be sort of grounded immediately, and there ended up being this tiny island on the east coast of Canada where loads and loads of planes had to just land at this tiny airport, and this tiny island ended up with like 10,000 extra people. But it's a really sort of beautiful story because they were just stranded there. All the people that live in the town on the island just sort of welcomed them all in and made them feel at home when they couldn't go anywhere. And it's really really beautiful and moving. And so this is a long story with a point. In the musical, I saw it in London a couple of years ago, and the actors are trying to sort of imitate this East Coast Canadian accent, and it does sound Irish. And at the time, I was like, I thought this was in Canada, but they sound Irish. But obviously, they just have this unusual accent. So maybe Shaughnessy is from somewhere like that. That was a long way to get back to me being very confused about Shaughnessy's accent. Anyway,
Yeah.
Shaughnessy votes for Asfir. Jericho votes for Chala, as does Jamal, as does Kitten. So there's almost a tie. Chala's on 5, Asfir's on 6. But Hollywood is next and votes for Asfir. Karine tells us one more for Asfir and he will be banished. And Natalie's next and votes for Shaughnessy, which is unusual. But it's Kevin next who gives a fake speech about not wanting to get it wrong again and then votes for Asfir. So we know where this is going. There's no way
Hmm.
back. Sarah Nicole votes for Asfir. Dom votes for Asfir. And Dom even makes like some sort of Harry Potter joke and is like, bro, you Snape. I think he says Snape. Maybe he says Snake. And says, if we had a sorting hat, we'd put it on you. Poor Asfir. I feel really bad for Asfir because I reckoned, I mean, maybe he didn't do himself any favors. He did contradict himself a couple of
Right.
times, so maybe that is on him. Even though I agree that it's quite easy to do when you're a super fan and you've watched all
Right.
these seasons. But you've got to be careful what you say to people in this game. So even if you misremember, just misremember the same way every time you say it.
Or
I
say, don't put yourself out there as I know this is true.
yeah,
Put
just
it out there as um, well, I think it's this.
yeah,
If I'm remembering correctly, it's this.
yeah. Or don't admit to being a Traitors superfan. Actually, would be my advice. And kind of got a listener question connected to that a little bit later.
Okay.
I also felt like this was a really classic case of something I definitely notice across these versions of the Traitors, where a player who's maybe a little bit different, but kind of an
Hmm.
outsider, just becomes an easy target. And I feel like Asfir fitted that role.
It's a
Sort
very
of,
strong metaphor for life.
absolutely. So poor Asfir has to stand and give his speech and says, my only regret, is that I saved all my fabulous fashion for the end, and talks about loving them all and all that stuff, and says, for those of you who didn't vote for me, thank you from the bottom of my heart. For those of you who did vote for me, thank you from the heart of my bottom. As previously stated, I am a faithful. Off he goes as Rhea bursts into tears. Meredith calls, "We love you," as they like to tell each other, even though they've not known each other for very long.
Oh, I
And
forgot to mention that. Sorry. That was one thing at the graves as they were closing up. Was it Mackenzie's grave?
yeah, yeah.
They were calling out, "We love you, we love you," and my thought was, just not as much as the other three.
Right. Yeah, we love you, but not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kareen mock congratulates them and tells them the traitors will have a really easy time murdering someone else tonight. Rhea's still sobbing, going, "How did we get it wrong again?" And I thought, it's only the second round table.
Yeah.
You can calm down. You were probably going to get it wrong. And off we head to round the mansion to have a bit of a debrief. Chala's dealing with the fallout of having lots of votes and worries about how they're coming across. And Lisette doesn't get how she earned 2 votes. Particularly Rhea's. Felt like
Yes.
that came from left field. Hollywood doesn't get why Mama Kay voted for him. And Traitors bingo alert. Ring the klaxon.
Yep.
Cut to Mama Kay delivering the classic, "If I go home tonight, here's who it is." Like, as if she knows. And she's saying like, "Oh, if I get murdered, it's Hollywood. Look at Hollywood." But at least she does then realize
Yes.
in confessional, maybe I shouldn't have done that because I'm just giving a traitor a reason to frame Hollywood. So I thought, well, too late, Cara. You've said it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, yeah, okay, you hit on that point, which is something I said, previously, whether it was it this show or was it UK, whatever. The same situation happened, but what's interesting to me is how quickly it spread. That Jericho, this set off a whole row of dominoes that went off in a direction I don't think we could have foreseen, because Jericho takes this to Kevin, who Kevin then turns it around and says, "Well, I wonder if Kara could be a traitor." And because that is so far out in left field, Jericho's like, "Well, now I think Kevin's a traitor." So Kevin gives himself away by this suggestion that came out of nowhere.
Yes, exactly. And a few other players then chat about Kevin too, like Meredith, Natalie, Jamal, and off we head to the conclave. The traitors interview
Oh wait,
clips.
sorry. That maybe this is something that I never know if it's something that was in there or not. But yeah, Meredith, Jamal, and Natalie are talking about Kevin, with Jamal noting his strategy seems similar to how he played Big Brother. But the funny part here was when Meredith ends the conversation by saying, "I'm not putting his name out there. We were just talking."
I did see that, yeah.
Because, yeah, first of all, no one wants to be accused of putting someone's name out there. And second of all, her whole issue with Lisette.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, sure, Meredith. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Lisa effect. Like,
Yes.
you're paranoid to talk about somebody in case it blows up. So yes, at the conclave, the traitors are coming in, and this is where I felt like they are all seem to be coming in with their own murder agenda for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
They take their hoods off. Venus says that was almost too easy, and Kevin's going, "Yeah, I don't even feel bad. We're barely doing anything." He calls them a bunch of idiots.
I mean, did we talk about this, or did I talk about this in a video? I think for Celebrity Traders UK, I think I made a video about it.
You did, yes.
Yeah, that this is standard. The best traders will sit back and let the faithful eat themselves, because you don't need, there's already paranoia baked into the game.
Yeah.
You don't need to stir the pot and risk being found out, much like Kevin was when he was talking about Kara. Just sit back, let them go at each other.
Yeah, it's one of the fundamental elements of the game that, and I don't know what this says about me psychologically, but that I really enjoy and find fascinating, is how easily people will turn on one another and make up stuff about one another
Hmm.
based on almost nothing and become vicious or really committed to believing false things about one another. It's like the Crucible, the Arthur Miller
Yes.
play. It blows my mind every time. And yes, wise traitors realize, hey, that's human nature. They're going to do it. We actually don't need to do all that much all the time. So Kevin, yes, realizes this. And this is where they agree that they probably should have made better choices with Death Row. Uh, they they reckon, although again, well, it's easy to say now, I guess, because most of the players don't seem to realize the obvious truth that probably none of them are traitors, and they reckon they ought to murder someone who will never get banished, like Kara. Although yes, they're worried maybe her talking about Hollywood actually is going to kind of set up a trap for them. Maybe they
Hmm.
shouldn't get rid of her and so on. So they go through some other possibilities. They start with Meredith and say she's a strong faithful. She's already mentioned Kevin as a suspect. Is that something to worry about? They mention Kitten and say, well, Kitten's viewed as a faithful, isn't really under suspicion by anyone. Shaughnessy is quiet, but Shaughnessy has mentioned Venus's name, so Venus doesn't maybe want to do the obvious thing and get rid of her. They come back to Meredith briefly, but actually Kevin quite likes that she's putting his name out there. He thinks it's good to have an
Hmm.
element of heat on you. And so it seems like it's gonna either be Cara, Meredith, or Shaughnessy.
Which is interesting because they essentially discard Kara's name. They're like, oh no, I don't. Kevin says I don't want to do that because what she said got around. Which
Yeah,
my thought at the time was, oh, so her messing up circled back to end up helping her, but then she's on the list. So I'm like,
yeah, yeah. It's a strange one. And we really the episode closes with various confessionals, snippets from our traitors as
mm-hmm.
they deliver their murder choice to Kareen. I have a couple of listener questions. I don't know if we want that first. Do we want predictions first? What are you in the mood for,
Let's
David?
do predictions since it's hot on my mind here.
Okay. Who is your murder prediction then?
So my murder prediction is in fact Kara
Ah,
because so often I feel like the editing of the traitors in general, and I seem to have a glimmer of memory that this has happened specifically on Canada before.
mm,
They make it seem like there's no way it'll be this person. And then we move forward and it's that person.
mm.
So I think the fact that they threw out Kara's name and said no, but she's still on the list, that tells me I think she's going to get murdered.
Yeah, that's yeah, just the fact that they included the clip of Cara, even that
Mm-hmm.
alone of her saying, "Wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't have said
Yeah.
that about Hollywood." So yeah, is that in there because she's about to be murdered? Could well be for the sake of me just saying something different than you. I'll say Kitten. I'll go for the fact that Kitten
Okay.
does have maybe have the least suspicion on them, won't impact the game much. Maybe the traitors just go for the that simple option. Like we don't think Kitten's going to get banished. Maybe it could be that.
Right.
Banishment, next banishment. Any thoughts? Who are they going to
I
turn
actually
to?
I forgot to write that one down. I always think about the murder and forget, oh, there's a banishment coming next episode, too. I mean, Chala seems like the most obvious one. They keep building on Chala,
Yeah,
but we've also seen it where it builds, and then falls off. Like,
yeah.
will it work? Will it distract and point people towards Hollywood because of what happened? So, you know what? I'm going to say it works. I'm going to say that even though it's the most obvious thing ever, I'm going to say it works, and they banish Hollywood.
Yeah. I I had this kind of the same thought. I thought we see all the time someone gets a lot of votes but escapes banishment. You assume that next banishment they're still
Mm-hmm.
going to be on the hot seat, and then it just kind of fades away, and that person sticks around for a while. So I think that'll probably happen again. And the first, what I wrote here was someone new but loud, as in someone who maybe hasn't had lots of votes yet,
Hmm.
but they're a big character. And my first suggestion was Hollywood? Question mark. I wondered maybe someone like Hollywood, maybe Jamal has said a couple of things that stick out in my mind. Maybe even Venus. Maybe Venus suddenly people are going to turn around. A couple of people have mentioned her already. I'll go Hollywood as well. I'll
Okay.
match you on that one since
All right.
was the first name that I came to. We'll see next time if we are correct.
Hmm.
A couple of listener questions then. This is from Caroline. This is an email. Caroline asks, and I said earlier, this is kind of connected to Asfear because I suggested maybe Asfear shouldn't have told people that he was a traitor superfan.
Hmm.
Caroline asks a question that we've spoken about many times on the pod, but I still thought it was fun. What professions or occupations do you think warrant being kept secret from other players? Which ones would actually put more heat on them? Caroline says, I'm a therapist, and I do wonder if I would keep that a secret if I were in the Traitors, due to people's assumption that therapists are good at telling when people are lying. And Caroline references a player from another season. I won't mention in case it spoils anything. What do you think? I
I It's interesting because this debate always comes up on Survivor too, and I do think therapist would make sense as one you need to worry about there.
yeah.
Um, I mean, beyond that, it's tricky when you start lying about what you do.
Mm,
Um, so unless there's a good reason for it, I wouldn't. Like if you're, the Prince of England or something like that, and you already have a bunch of money and you've had your titles stripped away from you, then, I wouldn't mention it. But, other than that, I guess therapist, maybe police officer for the same reason that people, have this false idea. Uh, Other
yeah.
than that, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it, probably.
Yeah. I had a couple of thoughts, and one was similar. Maybe police or detective might
Right,
make whether there's any merit in that at all,
right.
other players may just go, oh, they're a detective. That means
Hmm.
they'll be really good at evading the truth. They know all the tricks. And it's not the same show, but we covered Million Dollar Secret on
Right.
Netflix, which I really enjoyed. It's coming back for a second season in 2026. There was a player in that who came on the pod with us for an interview who is in the police force and kept that a secret in the show because they thought it would harm them. And that player did pretty well in the show, got far. Another occupation I noticed that always gets, or not always, but often gets people in trouble on the Tracers is actors. Anyone with any acting
Oh, yes.
experience seems to trigger people and go, oh, they're an actor. That means they'd be an amazing traitor. I don't
Yeah.
trust you. I don't trust anything you're saying. So I think if I was an actor of any sort, I would just not
I
bother
mean,
mentioning it.
the problem is that the actors they cast are usually well known enough that they can't lie about not being actors.
Yeah,
So
there
you
have been
need
a
to,
couple of people who are
yeah.
like they've been extras on things so you would never
Right.
recognize them, or
Right.
they perform in theater, like local theater and stuff. And
Yeah, I remember when we did some connect the dots on one season where I looked up the IMDb and lied to you about it, and yeah, I remember some of that.
yes, you lied to me. That's awful.
I know, I know.
I have a second question. This is from Gunt D on YouTube, who's another loyal listener, who says, I'd be interested to hear from David if Boston Rob had a career boost after the US Traitors, because I think Kevin is trying to emulate him. So, yeah, what did Boston Rob do next after US Traitors?
I'm trying to remember. Did Boston Rob? So Boston Rob did, as I recall, he did the
The most recent season of US
yeah.
Traitors.
So before that, he was on the Deal or No Deal Island.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah,
all
yeah,
I could
yeah.
think of was Let's Make a Deal, and I knew it wasn't that. It was actually Deal or No Deal Island, which then brought him back somewhat to get on the Traitors.
Mm.
I mean, maybe he'd have gotten on the Traitors too, but they are both NBC franchises, and so much like Parvati went on the Traitors and then turned around and went on Deal or No Deal Island. Uh, so so I mean, he's always been out there.
Yeah.
He was on Survivor 39.
Okay.
So, which was, right before the pandemic hit. So it's not like it's that long ago. Now, do I think that it's been a boost? Yes, I do, because the Traitors has been very popular, and Deal or No Deal Island was very popular. So between those things, he has definitely, I think, he's been in Instagram commercials for like soap and deodorant or something like that. I mean, it's just all sorts of weird things going on that uh, he probably wouldn't have gotten those otherwise. So yeah, I do think that between those two shows, it has been, it has reinvigorated his career. Where he goes from here, I mean, soap or deodorant commercials on Instagram, that's pretty much as high as you can go. So
And do you think Kevin is trying to emulate Boston Rob?
I
I don't
it's
think of Boston
possible.
Rob as being that sort of like villainous. But
Yeah,
it's not the impression
I
I
think
got.
he was somewhat villainous. I think he overplayed it, when he did certain things, like going after Bob the drag queen and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I think that Kevin wants to entertain
yeah, yeah.
and knows he's a villain. Now, could there be something in his future? Sure, but there's no like. Well, I was going to say there's no deal or no deal island, Canada, but then an Australian went on the last no deal or deal or no deal island. Although that Australian may have he lived at least part time in the U.S., so he may have had dual citizenship or something. I don't know what their restrictions are, but um, yeah, maybe if I am not aware, or I should have checked this out more. I don't remember all of what Kevin's other job is.
Yeah.
It sounds important. And all we know is he told someone, I'm not allowed to lie in my real job. So, uh, you know, it, he may want this extra boost. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? If someone's going to pay me, 5 or 6 figures to go on a show, sure, I'd encourage that.
Yeah. Apparently, his other job is an enterprise account executive. There we go.
Okay. I don't know what
If
that means.
Me neither. Uh, if anyone, he reminded me more a little of. Is it Wes? Is that the guy's name?
Hmm.
He was on US Traitors, and was he on
The
House
challenge.
of Villains, the
And in the House
challenge,
of
and
Villains.
yeah.
And he was also, I think, on the Worst Cooks Ever or something like that, a
Okay.
celebrity version. So all right around, all in the same year. Now,
Okay.
Wes has been cultivating his villain persona for many, many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a little bit different for him. He couldn't possibly step out of that at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, listeners, remember that David and I have been playing the Trade Our Traitor this whole time. We may still be playing right now. Before we conduct our own banishment and reveal what we've been dishonest about, David, remind us, where can we find you online? What shows are you covering right now apart from Traitors Canada?
Well, I will get to that. Do you want to do final thoughts first?
Oh, final thought. Of course. Sure. My final thoughts are I don't know if I have any final thoughts.
Okay, apparently not. That's why you skipped it. You
Yeah,
see, this is
I've said it all.
I'm the extended version. I have final thoughts. You don't. See, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm the short version. You
Yeah.
give us the extra content, David.
Okay. Yes. Just a few different final thoughts. I liked the little twists on the standard death row coffins instead of
Yeah,
just having them lie there and throw roses in or something like that.
yeah,
I like the twist on this and the way they made it part of the mission. Um, I am thoroughly amused by Lisette. And, she may or may not take that as a compliment, but her getting defensive over being told she's overly defensive was absolutely hilarious. Was the funniest part of the whole episode.
yeah,
Because it was just so classic to do that. Um, I was sad to see a super fan like Asfear go, but we talked about this where he contradicted himself and made those mistakes.
yeah,
And then just taking it back to the Omer situation. I wish we had a better understanding of why they keep showing him taking different viewpoints.
Yeah.
He's sure that Kevin's a traitor. Then he's convinced otherwise. Then he's sure again. Even the preview this week at the beginning of the episode went back to a clip from 2 weeks ago of Homer saying he was sure Kevin was a traitor, but ignored everything about what happened last week. So they didn't even, it's like we're going to, on Men in Black where they, flashy thing it's like forget about episode 2. He never considered that Kevin was not a traitor. We're going to skip that entirely. It's just bad continuity on the part of production.
Yeah. If I was going to put my sort of, not conspiracy hat on, but maybe read too much into it, I would wonder, because those changes are so abrupt, is he saying, did he really actually say those at very different times in the series and they've chopped them up and put them in the wrong places? And if that's the case, does that imply he makes it pretty far in the season to go through those wild shifts?
I mean, I don't think so, because they were in context in the other places. Like when he said, I, no longer think he's a traitor, he said, because, and it was all part of the same confessional there, wearing the same clothes and everything else. So, and it was specific to walking into breakfast when he was scared. So unless there's another, at this point, there's no way Homer's changing his mind. He believes that Kevin is a traitor playing the traitor's angel thing. I think that they just cut out, all they had to do was leave a line in where Homer says, oh, well, now I'm back to thinking he's a traitor again because of X. Like, put that line in. Put it in the extended version. It's worth it. But the part about the preview just blew my mind. Like, wait, what? Why are we ignoring what happened?
Yeah.
So
I actually do have a final thought.
Okay.
And I've kind of said it already, but I'll say it again. I'm appreciating it, or just sort of quite enjoying, get a little kick out of the fact that this season of the show is self-referencing. Even a couple of times within this episode. So again, the fact that Kareen mentioned in a previous season, Faithful managed to get out a traitor at the second round table, and even the fact that we've got Asfear saying, "I'm a traitor superfan," and other players saying, "Yeah, you've watched other seasons. What usually happens?" It's just unusual to me. I think it's especially in UK reality TV that is so rare. UK shows tend to encourage players don't talk about previous seasons, don't refer to other players. So you never, in UK traitors, you never hear on camera players referring to oh, remember what that traitor did in last season. Remember, they don't ever talk about the names of previous players. So I quite like that they're just going ahead and including it. It's almost like they're saying there's no point in pretending there weren't other seasons. Let's just embrace it.
Survivor was similar to that in the early days. They did not have mentions. Every season was its own thing. But then it got to the point where, they became more self-referential. And I think it's more honest that way. And now some would say they're too self-referential sometimes. I don't say that, but I know some people say it. So
okay. I'm glad we had our final thoughts.
Yes.
Now we can talk about all the other shows you're covering, where we can find you, David.
So I am all over social media and reality TV podcasting. I will be right back here in a couple days to discuss the Celebrity Traitors UK finale. And then in addition to being here, of course, I'm podcasting every week about the reasons each Survivor 49 player was voted out in my Why Blank Lost series on RHAP. In fact, as I mentioned before, this is our 10th anniversary season of that podcast. Plus, being self-referential, I have mentioned this earlier in the podcast, I'm doing my TikTok and YouTube and Instagram videos for Celebrity Traitors and the Traitors Canada and Survivor. So you can find those at David Bloomberg TV. I know that a few of the players this season have enjoyed some of those. I think a number of them liked the one I made of the action movie sequence from last episode. And yeah, you can, again, there I'm at David Bloomberg TV, and you can find all my various accounts at Linktree/David Bloomberg.
Yeah. And again, that will be in the episode description. Really easy to find David's links, as well as the links I'm about to tell you about. You can follow on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Trader Podcast. Again, I'm trying to reach 1,000 followers on Instagram so that I can go live again now that Instagram have changed its rules. And over the course of the past month, I think we've got like 90 more followers than we did have, so
Nice.
that's really cool. Be amazing to get to 1,000, maybe by the end of Traitors Canada Season 3, who knows? And you can send me your questions on those platforms or email me at thetradarpodcast@gmail.com, or you could leave a voice note. We didn't have one today. I think we maybe had one last time. I'm sure we'll have one another time at memo.fm/thetradarpodcast. Super easy to use. You press one button, you talk, you appear on the podcast. Give us your questions, your thoughts, your observations. Wherever you're listening or watching, it's great if you can subscribe, follow, leave a nice review. And if you want to support the pod, you could do a couple of things. You could buy some lovely Trader merch by visiting thetrader.redbubble.com. There are stickers, there are mugs, there are t-shirts like I have, there are notebooks, all sorts of things. Or you could visit the coffee.com page and put in a one-off donation of whatever amount you choose. That's ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. Thank you to Angus, who is a regular contributor. That's really kind of you, Angus. Thank you for that. And if you want to follow my personal page, because I am a writer and I've just published a poetry collection, you could find me at Matthew J. Keeley on Instagram and TikTok, or Matthew Keeley Writer on Facebook. Now it's time for us to conduct our own banishment as we conclude the Trader Traitor.
Ooh. Ah.
I am going to hide my shield one more time, and there's great skill involved in this, David. Which hand do you think the shield is in?
Your right hand.
Ooh, this is my right hand.
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Do you want to change?
No.
You're correct. It's here.
I mean, I guessed it 3 times in a row. I figured if I just keep guessing it, it'll eventually be there, you know.
No, you've learned the trick. It's skill. You've developed something. David,
Yes.
do you want to guess first or second about my lie?
I'll guess first. It doesn't matter because I only have one thing. It really doesn't matter either way. So the only thing that sounded, unless you made up something really elaborate, which sometimes you do, the whole story about watching half of it when you woke up and you had to go to the VPN, and then you had to watch half of it on your lunch break, and you can't use a VPN there, and so you had to do it a different way, and this and that. Somewhere in there, in that whole story just sounds like something you would make up on the spot.
Well, that's because I did make it up on the spot.
Yes!
You got
My wife
me.
is now upstairs. My wife is now upstairs going, what is he yelling about?
Is he watching sport?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't prepared my lie today, so I knew I was going to have to just make one up as I went, and I took that opportunity. The thing is, it was based slightly in truth. I did wake up deliberately early today, and my plan was to watch half, but when I woke up, I actually couldn't access the episode, and I did just have to wait until later in the day, and I watched it all on my lunch break. But yeah, I decided to pretend that I watched half and added in the VPN story. Too complicated, you caught me.
See, that proves that I can detect lies based on body language.
Body language and gut instinct.
Gut instinct, yes.
Yes, that proves it. David, as for your lie, I have written absolutely nothing down. I have no idea what you lied about.
Okay.
Usually I've got a few things.
I know.
Off the top of my head, you talked about your son being called Matt, and his wife calls him that, and her family, maybe that was the Matt thing, and you were just sort of going along with me talking about being called Matt. There was, you said Boston Rob was on season 39 of Survivor, and that was before the pandemic, and maybe it wasn't before the pandemic. I'll go with that. Something to do with Boston Rob.
Nope. It was Island of the Idols, and he and Sandra were there. They were not there as players. They were on the show. I made sure to be very careful of what I said, so I didn't accidentally lie. They were on an island apart from them, and the winner of a challenge would get to go over and visit them, but it was a surprise.
David, confess, what was your lie?
I lied about the clip of Omer. I said in the preview that the clip was from 2 weeks ago, but it's actually even worse. It was the first half of a clip from last week, because he said last week, I was 1,000% sure Kevin is a traitor. But then the rest of the clip, which I almost gave away when I was talking about this, so I had to make sure not to. The rest of the clip was him saying, but now I don't think so. And in the preview, they show the first half and make it seem like this was supporting him saying, I believe Kevin's a traitor. No, this was the first half of him saying, I don't believe he's a traitor anymore. So that made it even worse, which is why it stood out to me.
Okay.
So,
funnily enough, I did watch a little bit of the preview, five seconds or so, and then I thought, nah, I won't bother. So pass me by.
Yeah.
There we go. Well done. You got me.
When I say preview, I may have said this wrong. I meant recap. I think I said recap. Did I say preview?
You said preview.
Oh.
But still, I mean, hey.
I meant recap.
No
I was talking about the stuff that happened at the beginning.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify before we get messages on YouTube with people saying, that wasn't the preview, that was the recap. So I guess I was lying about it being in the preview, too. Look at that. It was the intentional lie and the unintentional lie.
What a great way to end. Thank you, David. Like you said, you will be back. We're going to talk about the final of Celebrity UK Traitors. Very excited. Thank you, listeners. We'll be back very soon. Until then, laters, traitors.
Matthew and listeners, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And to that one jerk on YouTube, thank you from the heart of my bottom. Stay traitorous.